Evening boys, this is Daddy reading chapter 2 of Darkmouth by Shane Hegarty. I am on the plane to Saudi Arabia, as you can see. Got my headphones on, got my TV screen ready to go. I just sat down and I thought I'd read you another chapter before the plane takes off and try and get it uploaded so you can see it tonight. So Toby, are you in bed and have you got your head on your pillow? Ted, stop sucking your thumb and get your finger out your nose. Okay, then we'll start. Chapter 2. Thinking back on it all later, Finn identified that morning as the time when things began to go badly wrong. Thinking of it a little bit more, he realised he had identified just about any morning of his first 12 years as when things began to go wrong. At the time though, he wasn't doing much thinking. Instead, he was running as hard as he could in a clanking armour suit and heavy helmet in the rain away from a minotaur. 5 minutes earlier, everything had seemed to be going a bit to plan, even if Finn wasn't entirely sure what that plan was. Then, it had been Finn doing the chasing, carrying a desiccator, a fat silver rifle with a cylinder hanging in front of the trigger. He was the hunter, lumbering through the maze of Darkmouth's back streets in a black helmet and fighting suit, small dull square metal knitted together clumsily, so that when he moved it sounded like a bag of forks falling downstairs. It was oversized because his parents had told him he should leave room to grow into it. It rattled because he had made it himself. From somewhere in the near distance, about 2 lanes away, he had heard the sound of glass being smashed into stone, or maybe stone being pounded into glass. Either way, it was followed by screams of a car alarm, and even louder screams of a person. Darkmouth was a town of dead ends and blind alleys, with high walls that were lined with broken glass, sharp stones and blades. The layout was designed to confuse legends, block their progress, shepherd them towards dead ends, but Finn knew where to go. He followed the legend's dusty trail, emerging on the broken road, Darkmouth's main street, where vehicles had screeched to a halt at wrong angles, and those townspeople hadn't scarpered, were cowering in the still closed shop windows. And at the top of the street, glancing over its shoulder, was the Minotaur. It was part human, part bull, all terrifying. Want to have a look at the picture? Uh-oh, that's the Minotaur. Looks pretty mean. Finn's heart skipped a beat. Hammered 3 more in quick succession, he took a shuddering breath. He had spent his childhood looking at drawings of such creatures, which were always depicted as mighty, almost noble legends. Seeing one in the flesh, Finn realised they had captured its strength, but had not really conveyed any sense of just how rabid it looked. From where its jutting, crooked horns met its great bull's head, it was covered in the mangy hair of a mongrel, and it looked back, slobbering, dripping from its great, humongous teeth, and ran through the contours of muscles bulging along its back, past its waist down to patches of skin as cracked and baked clay. It stood on 2 legs that tapered down to menacing claws instead of hooves. The Minotaur was worse than Finn had ever imagined it to be, and he had imagined it to be pretty bad. It was looking straight at him. He ducked into a doorway. A woman was already hiding there. A bat pressed against the door. A dog pulled close. Her face was tight with fear. "Don't worry, Mrs. Bright," Finn told her, his voice muffled by the helmet. "You and Yappy will soon be safe. Won't you, boy?" He petted the dog, a basset hound, with his free hand. The dog sneezed on him. The woman nodded with unconvincing gratitude, then paused. "Where's your father, young man? Shouldn't he be?" There was a smash further up the street. The Minotaur disappeared round the turn of the top of the broken road. Finn took another deep breath and moved on after it. From the other side of the wall there was a thud so forceful it sent a shudder from Finn's feet to his brain, which interpreted it as a signal to run screaming in the opposite direction. But Finn didn't run. He had trained for this. He had been born into it. He knew what was expected of him, what he needed to do. Besides, if he ran now, his dad would be very disappointed in him again. "I'll be there when you need me," Finn's father had told him that morning. Pressing a radio button on the side of his helmet, Finn whispered, "Dad! Dad! Are you there? Are you there, Dad?" The only response was the uncaring crackle of static. A dark, looming hulk crossed an intercepting laneway, tearing along the narrow wall. Finn raised his desiccator and followed. At the corner, he crouched and peered round. The Minotaur had paused, no more than 20 metres away. Its great shoulders heaved under angry, growling breath as it figured out which way to go next. It was all up to Finn now. He recalled his training, focused on what he had been taught, thought about his father's expert words. Carefully he aimed his stocky silver weapon steadily in himself. He exhaled. At that exact moment, the Minotaur turned to face him, its eyes like black pools gouged beneath scarred horns. Froth dripped from its chipped and jagged tusks. For a second, Finn was distracted by the way drool, blood and rain clung to a crystal ring wedged through the legend's nose. Ugh. The Minotaur roared, an almighty roar. Finn squeezed the trigger. The force of the shot sent Finn tripping backwards. A sparkling, splinting blue ball flew from the barrel of the desiccator, unfurling into a glowing net as it was propelled towards the Minotaur. The Minotaur had stood only a moment before and wrapped itself round a parked car, and Finn groaned. With a flash, a stifled whoop, half of the car collapsed in on itself with the anguished scrunch of a ton of metal being sucked into a shape no bigger than a soda can. Finn looked for the Minotaur. It had gone. He pressed his radio switch. Dad? And still nothing. He paused, calmed his babbling mind as much as he could, and moved off again through the laneways. Using the ancient methods handed down to him, Finn began carefully tracking the trail of the Minotaur. He needn't have bothered. The Minotaur got him first. End of the chapter. Do you want to see a picture of the desiccator? Where is it? There it is. There's the gun he uses that he made himself. Well, chapter 3 tomorrow. I shall read that to you when I get to Saudi. Okay, boys? I'm looking forward to seeing what happens to Finn. Okay, good night. I love you loads. Really wish I was there with you, boys. Big, big, big cuddles and kisses to both of you. Okay, speak to you soon. Love you both loads. Okay, night, night.